It's a new look for the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, and the first time we've been able to use the Carrera Cup moniker for the Porsche Championship in the USA, bringing it into line with the global Porsche single make championships. Michelin added as the tyre supplier, and the competition debut this weekend of the new Type 992 Porsche 911 Carrera Cup car. We're at Sebring in the National Raceway, Central Florida, for another 45 minutes of action around the bumps of the old taxiways and runways of the former Hendrick Field. 17 corners, just on 3 3/4 miles of some of the most impressive historic tarmac anywhere in the world, and concrete, in fact, as well. The cars are rolling. This is the second time we've seen them out on the track and heard the wonderful flat six engines. They started off their season yesterday with Sebastian Priaulx on pole position. The young Guernseyman got a good start into turn one. The action behind him was fast and furious, 3 wide. It didn't take long before we had our first incident. Maxwell Roost in the silver number 7 and the 27 of Sebastian Carrazzo getting together at the hairpin. Then it was the 57 and the 10, Werner McClure and John Goetz and Tom Polamis coming round as well to join in the fun. Then we had Air Porsche, TJ Fisher going wide at turn 1 and doing the huge bunny hop. Great battle in the 992 Pro-Am category. Alan Metney diving through past Efren Castro for the lead. Nobody to match Sebastian Priaulx at the front of the field, and the Multimatic car and driver took the opening round of the season. Jeremy Shaw is with me in the commentary booth. Hello again, Jeremy. Time to take a look at the grid for round 2, and if we're entertained as much as we were yesterday, we're in for another good one.
Yeah, good morning. Yes, indeed, we are. 23 brand new 992s for their second race of the weekend, 11 991 Cup cars, 34 in total, although one of them will not start. Jeff Kingsley in the number 16 car for MRS GT, one of the new cars, will not start from the 15th position. From the back of the grid, car number 64, Ted Giovannis alongside Tom Bolamus in car number 59. On row 16, Craig Conway in car number 97 and Joe Lombardo in car number 92. Joe Still in car number 8 and Grady Willingham will share row 15. Ahead of them on the grid, Bill Smith in car number 42 and Frank Razzo in car number 56. Philippe Marchand and Jeff Mychak in car number 29. Marchand in 72 will be on row 13. Werner McClure in car number 10. John Goetz in car number 57. 22nd on the grid, Tim Pappas in car number 54, alongside René Robichaud in car number 84. Kurt Swearingen will start in the 20th position in car number 17, alongside Matt Halcombe in the car number 55. That's the second qualified 991 car. Just ahead of him on the grid, one position, is a pole sitter and race winner yesterday for ACI Motorsports in car number 24. That is Kurt Hunt. Tom Collingwood will start number 69 from the 17th position. Row 8 of the grid is Hutton McKenna. He'll be on his own in car number 88, with Jeff Kingsley not starting. On the 7th row of the grid are the 2 top Pro-Am cars from yesterday. Alan Metney in car number 99, but on the pole position, having finished second yesterday, is Efren Castro in car number 65 for Team Hardpoint EBM. Row 6 of the grid is Ryan Gates in car number 11, alongside Sean McAllister in car number 2. Row 5, Eric Johansson from Sweden in car number 14, and Sebastian Carrazzo in car number 27. Row 4, Parker Thompson in car number 9, alongside TJ Fisher. Good qualifying run for him in car number 58. Row 3, Dylan Murray in car number 38, alongside Maxwell Root, hoping for better luck than yesterday in car number 7. Row 2 of the grid is Riley Dickinson in car number 53, alongside Lee Keane, the podium finisher yesterday in car number 12 for 311 RS Motorsport, making a great debut in the championship. The front row, well, that's all Kelly Moss Road and Race. Very, very close yesterday, separated on qualifying for this race by just 9 thousandths of a second. Second place on the grid, the youngster from the Netherlands is Kai van Berlo, but on the pole position for the second day in a row in car number 15 is Sebastian Priaulx.
Well done, Jeremy. Take a little breath. Looked like Kurt Hunt having a spin as he was trying to warm up the Michelin tyres on the formation lap. The Porsche safety car has pulled off into the main pit area. 45 minutes on the clock. Sebastian Priaulx, alongside him his Calimos Road and Race teammate. So on the inside into turn one, the Multimatic coloured car, the white and green car, Kai van Berlo. On the outside, they make a good start as they break towards turn one. Down the inside, the bright red number 12 is Lee Keane. Didn't get good starts or restarts yesterday. Has he got a better run today? Well, at least he's held on to his third place, which he couldn't hold on to his starting position yesterday. And a change for the lead immediately. Oh my goodness me. That was a really quick strike from Kai van Berlo, one of the young international drivers, and he takes the white and green number 3 car to the head of the field. Sebastian Priaulx was not headed yesterday. Van Berlo goes to the right-hand side into the heavy braking area at turn 7, the hairpin. Has to compromise his exit just a little bit. Bright red car of Lee Keane in 3rd position. Then the rest of the field stream through. Looks like everybody has survived the first half a lap. Well, we saw yesterday, Jeremy Shaw, that the young Guernseyman Seb Priaulx could certainly control from the front. Now he's going to have to do it whilst in 2nd place, and possibly the most difficult thing to do because he's been challenged from behind as well by Lee Keane. The McKenna Porsche, the number 88 car, the Wright Motorsport machine, goes through and makes up a position further down the field. That's battling just on the top 15-16. And by the way, Efren Castro ahead of Alan Metney, I think I saw there in the 992 Pro-Am battle. Onto the back straight for the first time. It's been a good first lap for Kai van Berlo from the Netherlands.
Nothing to choose between those two Calimos road and race cars, but good respect through turn 1 by the teammates there, and that side by side through turn 1, but a great late braking manoeuvre there by Kai van Berlo to take the lead in turn 2, and he has now the advantage in this race.
So to complete the first lap, it is Van Berlo who leads from Priaulx, then Keane, Dickinson, Dylan Murray going up into 5th place, Maxwell Root, then Parker Thompson, TJ Fisher down to 8th, Sebastian Carrazzo in 9th, Sean McAllister up to 10th position. Really good run and great respect shown by the two Calimos Road and Race drivers as they went through turn 1 really side by side. You couldn't have got a piece of paper between them after the green flag all the way through to turn 3. Tony Menard, the Michelin Motorsport Director for North America, waving the green flag just to signify how important this partnership is between Michelin and Porsche, and particularly the Porsche Carrera Cup globally. Brand new sizes of the Carrera Cup tyre, Michelin Pilot Cup Sport N3s they are now. Slightly different diameters to the front and the rear of these Porsche race cars, which mirror the street cars as well. The 992 is the first generation of Porsche 911 that's had different diameter wheels front to rear, and it's a learning curve for everybody. The advantage is that the junior drivers are racing on the same rubber as their compatriots around the world, or their potential competitors around the world, because there will be the annual shootout at the end of the seasons, which someone will win a fully funded drive supported by Porsche as a junior driver, as a Porsche junior driver in the Porsche Super Cup, which supports Formula One around the world. And so much talent has come out of that down through the years. Leading pair just beginning to break away a little bit, probably 4 or 5 992s lengths between first and second, maybe 6 or 7 between Priaulx and Lee Keane in third.
And this might be the biggest gap we've seen between the number 3 and number 15 for the last 2 days. I mean, they've been absolutely tied together this time. Kai van Berlo, he's got a massive lead of about, what, 3 or 4 car lengths perhaps, as they cross the line at the end of lap 2. But the fastest car on the track that lap was Sebastian Priaulx in second place. Yesterday, it was Kai van Berlo who had to settle for second, but he did at least have the consolation of the fastest race lap. Right now, the boot is on the other foot, but it's Kai van Berlo who leads. Priaulx is just a mite quicker on that last lap around. but still within a half a second of the lead in second position. Lee Keane hanging on there in third position. Alan Metni has moved ahead of Efren Castro on that first lap to lead in the Pro-Am category. It's caliber 99 running in the 13th position, a little bit further back. With that spin for Kurt Hunt on the pace lap, Matt Halcombe, also from Georgia, two local guys who race together regularly at Road Atlanta. It's Matt Halcombe who leads the 991 category in caliber 55 for Goldcrest Motorsports in the 17th position overall.
Yeah, and he's got three cars between himself and Kurt Hunt after that spin, being Tim Pappas, Kurt Swearing, and John Coates for JDX ACI and Wright Motorsports, respectively. So 17th for Matt Halcombe. He'll be delighted with that. Sebastian Priaulx has dragged his Multimatic liveried Porsche to the back of the green and white leading car, and as they go through turn 16 and onto the long back straight, I'm not sure he's close enough. I was about to say I thought he was in position to have a little go, but I'm not sure he's quite close enough. I'm also not sure, with 40 minutes left and a gap behind them, whether they want to be fighting. They are teammates, Jeremy, but there's a championship to be won here. There's a potential Porsche contract at the end of the season for one of the junior drivers. I'm not sure these two are working together quite as if it was team orders, but there will be an understanding between these two young racers. Young they may be, but experienced they certainly are, and there will be that understanding that they can pull away, and they have the pace to pull away from Lee Keane and those from third on down.
Well, that's exactly right. And David Sloan, who runs this operation for Kelly Moss Road Racing, he's got a massive amount of experience, hugely successful in the preceding GT3 Cup Championship, 71 wins over a dozen years, a remarkable success, including 5 different championships. So he's used to working with lots of cars and lots of quick cars as well. So he'll be well placed to manage these two. Plus, they're two young men with a bright future ahead of them, and they know they can't afford to take too many liberties and make any mistakes, because that's not going to go down well when the bigger teams, or the big teams in the professional ranks, start looking for talented youngsters to move up into the ranks.
They are just pulling away fractionally every lap. At the line, it was almost 2.7 seconds, and Lee Keane has got his door mirrors relatively full of Riley Dickinson, and Dylan Murray not too far away either in the bright green number 38 for BGB Motorsports. Then there's a little gap back to Maxwell Root, involved in that little schmozzle yesterday. Parker Thompson in 7th. TJ Fisher, Flying Fisher I think we'll be calling him now, won't we, for Top Racing after the airborne moment in race 1. Then Sebastian Carrazzo for Kelly Moss, and the top 10 is Sean McAllister in the fairly stock looking GT Silver JDX car, the number 2 machine. That's the top 10 for you. And again, the leaders in lockstep, full headlights on for Priaulx in 2nd place. The 991 category in 17th position, Matt Halcombe for Goldcrest Motorsport. That is a championship. Looks like Tim Pappas and has gone through. Yes, he has, but that's a different class of car. So the dark silver and bright green car is not battling that white Porsche in behind it. The 5.5 machine, the Apex logo on the hood of the car, and you'll also notice that the numbers are in red. That signifies the previous iteration of Cup car, 991 Generation 2 or 991.2.2. Different rear cover over the engine, different body shape as well. But they're in this year, and around about a dozen we expect for the season, although only 11 starting here. Now, race control having a bit of chat about the start of the race. It's pretty standard operational practice. that they'll have a wee look at it. That was 10 minutes ago. If they're still looking at it now, there might be something under consideration, so we'll keep an eye and ear to that. The race director here, Jeremy, with a huge amount of experience down through the years in racing, and particularly in dealing with young drivers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Randy Buck is the new chief steward for this Porsche Carrera Cup North America for this season, and he's worked with a bunch of different racing schools. Skip Barber Racing School, which was the premier series school in this country, and has been rejuvenated now with new ownership, by the way. But Randy was for many years chief instructor there. He also worked with the Lucas Oil School of Racing for a few years as well over the last 4 or 5 years. So he's been a race director before, and hugely experienced. And he certainly is somebody who will garner the respect of these young drivers. Super battle at the front now. Kai van Berlo still leads, but Sebastian Priaulx, he has set slightly a quicker lap, just under the 2 minutes 3 second barrier. So a new fastest race lap record there today. Cooler conditions, of course, this morning compared to yesterday, and lap times therefore a little bit quicker. But Kai van Berlo, he's got his mirrors full now of Sebastian Priaulx in that car number 15.
As they go down to the hairpin in front of the hotel at turn 7. Now, what's happened then that makes Sebastian Priaulx think it is time to push the go button? There's a little more adjustability on these Type 992 cars, very much taking the inspiration from the GT3 and GT Daytona versions of the Porsches. Oh, hello. That was a Michelin sign that has been sacrificed to the racing on the exit of turn 2. Sorry, a WeatherTech sign on the exit of turn 1 and 2. In fact, that's a couple of different signs that have gone missing. And the problem for both of those cars that hit the signs were that they've dragged off the very bottom of the front spoiler on the cars. It's a rubberized piece, and it's an interference fit on the front of these Type 992s. And as I say, they're taking inspiration now from the GT Daytona spec Porsche at 911, and that means that the aero is even more highly developed. And it was a Michelin sign, so that was 2 different signs. That was the number 7 car that did that. So that's Vernon McClure for TPC Racing, and his problem now is, having lost that front splitter bottom piece, he's going to be suffering from push. Aerodynamic understeer. Oh, oversteer for the 38. That's Dylan Murray. He was right up in the second group on the exit of turn 17. He's sideways to the track at the moment. He hasn't got enough lock to be able to get through, but he doesn't want to move. My goodness. Didn't know whether to stick or twist there, young Murray, because he was in a very precarious position, Jeremy. Thought he was going to go backwards into the pit lane entrance and sort of went that way, and drivers having to make a decision that could have been very nasty indeed, as he just lost it on the last of the bumps coming out of turn 17. Masterful bit of avoidance from Parker Thompson, who came through for JDX. He was the next car through. And then a nasty couple of minutes for the young man who was on the side of the car, Jeremy, that was in the most danger.
Yeah, that was a scary moment there for a few drivers there, and some good avoidance manoeuvres. And Dylan Murray, he knew he wanted to get back going again as quick as he could. He was super fast yesterday, finished in the 5th position and had a very quick car. He moved up several places during the race yesterday, and he'd already made up 1 position today at the expense of Max Root. So he was running there in the 5th place again. It would have been a really good debut for this second generation driver. Of course, his dad David had a lot of success in Porsches over the years, and Dylan is a really talented young guy from Georgia, just 19 years of age.
It's back to my point of the sign demolishing earlier on. The car's much more aerodynamically dependent now, much more like the GT Daytona Porsches and the new versions of the 992s in the future that will come. And that means the rear wing as well, 11 different positions, all new things to play with for the teams and drivers, as well as that new tyre supplier and the new tyre sizes, and of course a brand new platform. It is a new platform. This is the 8th version of the Porsche 911, and when Porsche bring out a new iteration, they never go backwards, let's put it that way. And the lap times here have been pretty impressive, down to 2:02.9 for Sebastian Priaulx for the fastest lap of the race in 992 Pro, 2:04.7 for Alan Metni in Pro Am in 992, 2:06.5 for the 991.
Yeah, and yesterday's fastest lap was a 2:04.1, so a full second quicker today. The cars will started on a fresh set of tyres this morning. They have 5 sets of tyres for the race weekend. Almost certainly they will have started on a fresh set for today's race. Plus, of course, it is cooler. Track conditions a lot better than they were yesterday afternoon when they had their first race. So we expected faster lap times, but by a full second, that just shows you, I think, how the track conditions do affect lap times here at Sebring International Raceway.
Yeah, 70 degrees Fahrenheit in the air and on the track. That is significantly, that's probably 10 degrees, maybe even a little bit more cooler than it was. In the test at Sebring last week, they were a wee bit quicker than that, but obviously we don't know what fuel loads we've been running. These cars have still got more than half of a tank of racing fuel in them, and they will get quicker towards the end of the race should the drivers need to find that speed, and depending of course on how they've set the car up, most likely they will be looking at pace towards the end of the race. Riley Dickinson and Lee Keane still scrapping. Lee Keane in the red Porsche at turn 17 now, and the silver car behind is Riley Dickinson for Team Hardpoint EBM. The EBM is Earl Bamber Motorsport. There's another driver who's benefited from Carrera Cup in various parts of the world, and is of course a Porsche factory driver. On the back, sorry Jeremy, go ahead.
Well, no, Kai van Berlo, his last 2 laps have been a 2 minutes 3.1, a 2 minutes 3.08. Super consistency, super quick, within a tenth of a second of Priaulx's fastest lap of the race, and that consistency and allied to the pace has enabled Kai van Berlo to pull out a 1.5 seconds over his teammate Sebastian Priaulx. Lee Keane still running in that 3rd position, with the trainer cars behind him, and a little bit further back down the field, Max Root in car number 7. He's clearly struggling, falling back down the order in that number 7 car for the More Speed Right Motorsports cooperation this season. Those 2 teams who've been rivals in the past, working together to field that car for Max Root, who's a former front runner in the GT3 Cup Series, finished 2nd in his championship a few years ago, and he's but struggling clearly at the moment. Some sort of a problem, I think, in that number 7 car.
I think that was the other car that hit the advertising hoardings out of turn 1, because he's missing the front part of the front end of that car, Jeremy. Yes, it is, and that is what. So it was 2 silver cars, so that was the 7 car that hit the Michelin sign, excuse me, on the backside of the track. I think I said Vernon McClure earlier on. Sorry, Vernon. I was managing to look at the wrong part of the timing screen there, but there's definitely damage on the front of that GT silver car, and he's being passed by some of the 991 category cars. Matt Halcombe has gone through. I think that was Kurt Hunt right there as well. So now it's just a battle of survival, no point in pitting. I think I saw Kurt Swearingen dive into the pits on the back straight as well last time around, so he's dropped in the number 17 car way down. So I wonder if it was 7 and 17 that had the problem that with the advertising hoardings. Still the battle for 3rd position. Lee Keane once again with TJ Fisher in 6th position, Lee Keane in 3rd. The only 2 non-junior category drivers in the top 8, flying the flag for those with a little more experience. Lee been around the racetracks for a wee while, certainly knows how to get to victory lane. At the moment, can't do anything about the almost 7-second gap between himself and the 2 leaders, because Riley Dickinson is looking for any potential opportunity to take the Porsche Austin supported 992 Cup car into 3rd place. That is the battle going through turn 7 and turn 8 now for the last spot, Jeremy, on the podium.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And this battle between these two, we saw Lee Keen get a little bit defensive last time around, and it's cost him, I think, both of these to a little bit of speed, because Parker Thompson in the number 9 car for JDX Racing, that's the buyer's Porsche and Renier construction car, he is closing in on this battle for 3rd and 4th positions. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, a good lap there by Sebastian Prieur. That gap now down to just over a second. It was about a second and a half last time around, so second place car a little bit quicker on that last lap.
And now found out the reason for the call into the pits for the 17, Kurt Swearingen, false start. So that we did hear from race control that they were looking at the start again. So Swearingen and looks like Robichaud as well for Kelly Moss Road and Racing, number 84 car, both called for false starts, and that's why they have both then been along pit lane to answer those penalties, serve those penalties. Getting down towards half distance here, Jeremy, and once again the two international youngsters. It's this time Van Berlo ahead of Prieur, the man from the Netherlands and the man from the Channel Islands, leading out by an impressive 7.5 seconds from a great battle for 3rd, with Parker Thompson trying to make it a 3-way fight for 3rd position in the number 9 JDX Racing car. They head out a big bend under the Mobile One walk-over bridge and down towards the braking area at the hairpin. Lee Keen just feeling the need to drift into the middle of the road there, Jeremy, and this is going to be costing them time. Yeah,
I think you're absolutely right, John. And you know, for Lee Keen, I mean, massively experienced in racing, and certainly in Porsche, has had a lot of success over the years. He was a champion in the Rolex Grand Am GT series in 2009 and 2011. Finished second in the ALMS GTC category in 2012, having skipped a couple of races, but he won the championship for Alex Job Racing, the team's championship. A 3-time winner at the Watkins Glen 6 hours, the Salo 6 hours of Watkins Glen. So huge experience as Lee Keen, and just loving the opportunity to get back into the sport. He's been out of it for a few years. He's been doing some club racing and just keeping his hand in, doing track days and some coaching and what have you. But this brand new 311 RS Motorsport team, hugely ambitious. Ryan Gates is also driving in this race, back in the 10th position. He's doing a nice job in his first race ever in IMSA. Jeff Myshak is the other principal at 311 RS Motorsports, and we're coming into the sport this season. We've not done any real pro racing in the past, and it's been a very, very impressive debut for that team. And Lee Keen, he just loves working with these guys. He loves working with Ryan Gates, and to be running here at a 3rd place for this brand new team. Lots of experience in that team, however. Greg Fordahl is the chief engineer there. He's been around this sport a long, long time, and with that experience of Lee Keen and Greg working together, here he is running in that 3rd position, but under intense pressure from the youngster Riley Dickens.
Just to note as well about Jeff Myshak, who is running the 29 car in one of the Gold Crest Run 991s. He's basically getting some experience because he hasn't done as much racing as the other guys that Jeremy was mentioning there. His best lap time is only a 10th away from the guys around him in that 991 class, guys who we've talked about for a few years. So that's actually a pretty good effort in just his 2nd time racing this car. First time, of course, being yesterday. Yeah, there's been some testing and there's been some private testing as well, but Jeff certainly opening his account in the 2021 Porsche Carrera Cup North America in the Pro-Am 991 class. He's holding 3rd position at the moment, ahead of Frank Razzo for Top Racing, and Frank's been driving these cars for a very long time indeed. Good news for JDX, the number 9 Parker Thompson car. The red and white machine with a bit of grey on the back is just starting to gain and almost has latched on to this battle for 3rd and 4th. So it's going to be a 3-way battle as Parker Thompson proudly with the maple leaf design as well on the side of his car. It makes it a three-way scrap. 991 class car off, has slid well into the grassed area, and that's a big bend on driver's left. That looks to me like...
Change for third.
Oh, yes.
Riley Dickinson goes down the inside at turn 17 to wrest away that position from Lee Keane. Great move there from Riley Dickinson, and all that experience for Lee Keane didn't quite pay off there. He'd been defending that position. Riley Dickinson, he knew he was faster. He's been a front runner in the GT3 Cup Series for the last 2 years, has Riley, and using all that experience there to get himself up now into the third position.
And it was Joe Still, by the way, that I was about to say it when he went sideways. Just got on the throttle a little bit early coming out of turn 4, lost the back end, spins to the left hand side. Possibly even a slight mistake from Lee Keane that gave up third place. Looks like he didn't quite get his braking right, drifted a wee bit wide going into turn 17, and Riley Dickinson needed no second invitation there, Jeremy, to tighten his line into the first part of 17. There are a number of lines that you can take, often compromised by the bumps, but Lee coming straight back into turn 10 and forcing Dickinson to go on the defensive right from the middle of the road, and Parker Thompson says, oh yes, please guys, keep fighting, I'll have a bit of this, and he's right with them now. Three-way scrap for third.
Yeah, great stuff. Parker Thompson, he's a youngster who has carved a career for himself in the Road to Indy for the last half a dozen years, been super successful there on the first 2 rungs of the ladder in USF 2000 and in Indy Pro 2000. He's finished in the top 3 of the championship in both series and has won multiple races. And he's now making the move back into sports cars. He dipped his toe in the sports car waters a couple of years ago with JDX Racing, and north of the border with the sports car boutique. He finished second in the Canadian Championship in 2019. And he's got this opportunity now to go and run in Porsche Cup North America with JDX Racing and Jeremy Dale and Harrison Bricks there, and he's grabbing it with both hands. This team. The race engineer for this car for Parker Thompson is Luke Goldenstein, who's been around the sport again a long time, and he guided Trenton Estep to the championship with JDX in GT3 Cup in 2018. He was unable to make it to the test day, was Luke. So yesterday was really the first, the day before I guess, was the first time they'd really worked together on the racetrack, and Parker Thompson doing a really nice job there, currently running in the 5th position.
That is very impressive. The relationship between a driver and his team, and particularly the race engineer, important in every form of motorsport when there's so little you can do to the cars. Even more so, more action at turn 10, and that is the number 59991 car. Red numbers giving that one away. So that's Tom Balamis, who had problems yesterday, not of his own making in fairness. That was all happening in front of him. He joined the party late and T-boned one of the cars that had spun at turn 3, wasn't it, yesterday. It's back facing the right direction now, and all of a sudden Riley Dickinson has just cleared off a wee bit from Lee Keane, and Parker Thompson now fighting. Lee was struggling for straight line speed, it seemed, Jeremy, down the back straight last time around. Parker had closed right up to him, and Riley had disappeared in front of them, and Riley has now pulled out a decent gap to the two that are fighting for what is 4th position. And I wonder if Lee's just struggling. Let's have a look at him through turn 16 onto the back straight. It's a decent enough run there. I was wondering if he was just struggling for rear grip a little bit and not getting the drive off the corners, but he certainly last time around lost some time to Riley Dickinson.
He did, yeah. Riley Dickinson, he's got his head down, and he's not got much hope, I don't think, of catching 2 leaders, though. He's a good bit closer than he was last time around. Lap times now, they've dropped off a fair bit. This time around, to it's 4.2. They had been running in the consistent 2:03.3 for the race leader Kai van Berlo. Turned 3 successive laps, and all within a tenth of a second at the front. He's edged out that gap a little bit again over Sebastian Priaulx in second position. Riley Dickinson, he's just turned his best lap of the race in third position, and then there's battle for fourth between Lee Keane and Parker Thompson,
which is keeping us interested. The all-red number 12 of Lee Keane, sitting at the moment in fourth position for that 311 RS Motorsport team, and then JDX's Parker Thompson. Red, white, and grey car going down towards turn 7 at the moment. Very aggressive looking car, this new 992 Carrera Cup machine, making its competition debut here at Sebring in the IMSA paddock. A reflection of how important this market is to Porsche, not only for street cars but for race cars as well. Biggest racing market in the world, Dr. Daniel Ambruster was telling me earlier in the week. He's the man who heads up Porsche Motorsport North America. Let's have a look at the other classes. Alan Metney just outside the top 10 in the iFly. Kelly Moss, number 99 car, he leads the Pro-Am version of the 992 class, signified by the white and black numbers. Black on white on the number panels. He's in elegant isolation at the moment. Meantime, it's a drive back through the field from Dylan Murray, who had that spin, went all the way to the back. And BGB Motorsports driver up to 13th position. Lee Keane still holding on to fourth place. Whatever was ailing that car perhaps has been able to drive round it. We're into the last third of this race now, Jeremy, so the fuel is burning off. But that was a tough little section of racing there. That middle third didn't go the way Lee Keane would have wanted.
It didn't. No, I don't think he's got a problem. Probably he just doesn't have the pace today for whatever reason. So yeah, he's just going to try and keep his nose clean, use his massive experience in Porsche to keep Parker Thompson behind him. He's certainly having to defend that position.
Oh, wow.
Thompson goes right around the outside of the hairpin. Is that going to work? Not quite, but a really good effort there for Parker Thompson.
And that just underlines to me that there's something not quite right, because that's not the longest straight on the track, and that number 12 car is clearly struggling for top speed. Thompson going round the outside again at turn 10, but can't get enough of an overlap to make the inside for the left-hander at turn 11. But this is somewhat of a rearguard action from Lee Keane at the moment, and I think, unless it's a mistake from Thompson, this is more when rather than if, should I say, he loses that position. Maybe, well, I don't know, I'd be speculating. But the next challenge for Lee Keane in the bright red number 12 will be heading down the Ullman Straight, the long back straight, which is where he is headed right now. It's a decent enough entry. Thompson picking up the tour. Got some of the 991 category cars. Riley Dickinson, by the way, still 10 seconds away from the leaders in third position ahead of this battle. Well, that was fine. That was fine from Keane.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And Riley Dickinson, by the way, yeah, he's 10 seconds back from the leader, who all of a sudden is more than 2 seconds clear of Priaulx in second position.
Yeah, good spot.
Battle farther back down the field. But Riley Dickinson, for 2 laps in a row, has had his best laps of the race. So clearly, that Team Hardpoint EBM car coming good in the latter stages of this race. I think he's probably going to need a full course caution if he's going to have any hope of catching the 2 leaders. But if there is one, he should be in pretty good shape in the final stages.
Still just on 11.5 minutes to go. These GT Porsches full of fuel to start the 45-minute encounter, and the performance and the balance of these cars will change significantly. Now Lee Keane's in trouble here, because he's coming down to the part of the circuit where Parker Thompson had a real look at him last time around, and he had to pass one of the 991 Pro-Am cars there, and he actually did that really well. That was smart smart driving, good racecraft from Lee Keane there. Didn't go past too early, made sure he used the 991 as a little bit of a pick to make the road very narrow indeed for Thompson behind him. It's the more twisty areas of the track, I would say, Jeremy, from sort of the exit of turn 7 right the way through to turn 13, that car just really doesn't look happy at all for Lee Keane. And we may find out before the next time we're on air what exactly was the issue, if there was one, or whether they just missed the setup by an absolute smidge. All the teams learning these cars, remember.
Yeah.
All the cars changing as through the stint, as I mentioned. And if you get it wrong, we have seen in the past, in the previous iterations of this car, Jeremy, you can lose lap times toward the end if you use your tyres too much or you miss the setup window.
Yeah, absolutely right. And as you say, you rightly say, they don't have a lot of time in these cars. And we see Kai van Berle there lapping some of the slower 991 cars. And he's now pulled out better part of 2 seconds over Sebastian Priaulx. But yeah, they have very little time with these cars. They had the on-track test a couple of weeks, just over a week ago, 10 days ago. That was the first time all of these cars had run in anger. And then they've had a couple of practice sessions prior to qualifying, and that's it. So very little time to understand these very different and brand new cars. It require certainly a lot of thought into the setup of these cars. The cars come with a good factory baseline setup that's been developed before the cars even left Stuttgart, but there's certainly a lot to learn for the engineers on these new Carrera Cup 992 chassis cars.
Yeah, a lot of development has gone in to this car. The staple entry point, I suppose you would say, for 911 Porsche racing. There are versions of the 718 Cayman, of course, which can be raced in GT4. The engineers at Porsche Motorsport at Weissach know which way is up, and there will be many, many long nights and much testing on the facilities there at the Motorsport Centre, as Jeremy said, just outside Stuttgart. Inside the last 10 minutes by a couple, and still it's stalemate between Lee Keane and Parker Thompson as they head onto the back straight. Van Berlo's pulled out over 2 seconds now on Priaulx, so it looks like honours even for the two Kenny Moss Road and race drivers across the weekend. Third, well, take your pick, between Dickinson and Keane. They come to the line this time. Lee Keane with a couple or 3 cars lengths. I think that's as big as we've seen for a little while. Through turn 1, the bumps looking particularly difficult for the Porsches. Well, Jeremy, whilst we have a moment coming down into the last 7 minutes, just a thought about the quality of the entry here from the young drivers in particular. Lee Keane stands out as a driver, a pro driver of some experience, but the young drivers in the pro class this year really underlining just what standing the Porsche Carrera Cup in its first year in North America has with young career-minded drivers.
Indeed, so that to be eligible for the Junior Cup, you've got to be under 24 years of age. There's 9 drivers in the 992 Pro class eligible for that, and a lot of talent drawn from a whole bunch of different series that come together from all different aspects of motor racing to get to this point, but they all have the same goal in mind. They all want to be a Porsche factory driver, and this is the first step on that ladder, if you like.
Big sideways moment for Sebastian Carrazzo, running right off the end of the curb there, which has been extended. There's a little more concrete there beyond the blue and white painted curbing. There's some brand new concrete being laid down, but motor racing drivers being as they are, they're using that and a wee bit more. Here comes the battle for third into turn 17. There was a look for the fourth place driver, but not too much. I didn't think it was too much of a real pass attempt. Oh, now really nice piece of fortune for Lee Keane as they came through to turn one, and he put one of the 991 cars between himself and the guys and Thompson chasing him, and that's giving him a bit of breathing space there, Jeremy. Sometimes you need a bit of luck in this game. Meantime, leading 991 in the almost all-white car, the 55 into the final corner. It's been a good run for Matt Holcomb. He's got 7.5 seconds on Kurt Hunt, who'll be ruining spinning on the formation lap. Those two well ahead of the rest of the field.
Yeah, and for Matt Holcomb, this is his first professional weekend. The first time he even did a track day was only in 2018. He bought the car that he's running, Matt Holcomb, that's car number 55 for Goldcrest Motorsport. He's actually bought the car from Europe. It was a former Super Cup car. I didn't actually know who drove it, so we'll have to do some digging on that one for the future. But the car has a bit of history, and Matt Holcomb from Dallas in Georgia is doing a fine job also in yesterday's winner in that category. Kurt Hunt, having had that spin on the first lap, now running in second place. Both Holcomb and Hunt, they're good buddies. They're both from the Atlanta, Georgia area. They race together with the Road Atlanta Drivers Club at Road Atlanta. They're there regularly. They got a lot of track time at Road Atlanta, and they both had a really good account of themselves this weekend. Kurt Hunt won the 991 category yesterday, and today it is a good buddy Matt Holcomb who leads that series.
Can you imagine that any kind of Porsche Cup car round Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta would be an awful lot of fun? I'm rather envious of the guys there. 3.5 minutes to go. Kai van Berlo, slightly frustrated yesterday, has done a really good job. Looks like Seb Priaulx in second is struggling just a little bit with understeer, with a bit of push in the Multimatic back machine. Certainly coming through turn 3 there. Didn't look like he had the bite on the front end of the second place Porsche. It's Kelly Moss Road and Race to the 4. Team Hardpoint EBN, Riley Dickinson having made a break, and off the 56 of Frank Rasso, top racing car. It's at Tower Turn 13. Has got it pointing in the right direction. This has been a nicely judged race by Van Berlo. We talked about managing and marshalling your resources underneath you. That might sound odd in just a 45-minute race, but really important, and important lessons of future careers for these young drivers if they go on to race GT cars. It was nip and tuck for the first 2/3 of this race between Van Berlo and Priaulx, but then Van Berlo has edged away almost 3 seconds now, the gap between first and second. Audacious manoeuvre very early on. Quite clearly, Kai van Berlo realised from what he'd witnessed yesterday with Seb that he needed to get that move done early, as he puts a lap on the number 92, and he should get the white flag this time around as Joseph Lombardo just eased away from the apex of turn 17 and let the overall leader through. Oh, late race problem for the number 65, all yellow on one side and all white on the other, and all sorts of issues. Alan Metney's gone off and he's leading the Pro-Am category in 11th position overall. Also in trouble, the number 72 of Philip Matien, the Goldcrest Motorsport, and there was at least one other car that was slowing down there. So what happened to Alan? Did he jump or was he pushed? Oh, big slide at Jean de Bienne curve as he was battling with Dylan Murray in the BGB Motorsports car. Then the second car, or the third car actually, was Philippe Martien, who went off at Big Bend. And the first car that I saw slowing down was Thomas Collingwood, the BGB Motorsport Pro-Am car. I'm fairly certain on the far side of the track. No incidents for ages, and then 3 come along at once. Not London buses, but 911 Porsche Cup cars. Just going back to Kai van Berlo, Jeremy, quite clearly he realised that he didn't want to sit behind Seb and stare at the Multimatic logo for 45 minutes. That was an audacious early manoeuvre from the young Dutchman that has effectively decided the race, let's be honest.
Indeed so, yeah. But it's been a super controlled drive here for Kai van Berlo. He took the lead at the beginning, and much like yesterday, held off a lot of pressure for some of the distance, but unlike yesterday, has managed to pull himself clear. And this is going to be a very accomplished performance by this Racing for the Children's Hospital in Birmingham, Alabama, and Kelly Moss Road and Race.
Second race of the weekend, second race of the season, second winner of the season, but another race win for Kelly Moss Road and Race as Kai van Berlo goes through to take round 2 of the Porsche Carrera Cup North America. Followed home at a distance of 4 seconds by Sebastian Priaulx. It'll be Riley Dickinson from Team Hardpoint who gets the checkered flag now in 3rd place. A late spin for Alan Metney in the number 99 iFly Kelly Moss machine, but he has recovered, and I think he's got just enough of a gap between himself and the BGB Motorsports car to take the Pro-Am victory. Actually, I thought I saw Collingwood's car slowing down, so Alan is going to take the Pro-Am victory with, what, 13th position overall? And takes the checkered flag now, and it's going to be Matt Holcomb for Goldcrest in 16th overall, with Kurt Hunt getting within 6 seconds of him towards the end of the race. They're still yet to appear out of turn 17. Here's the white number 55 now, and the double nickel takes the top step of the podium for Pro-Am 991 category. So even with the win, Alan Metney, even with the spin, Alan Metney still won the Pro-Am category. Unofficial points with Jeremy Shaw.
Yeah, with the win and a second place each for Sebastian Priaulx and Kai van Berlo. They both have 45 points under the new Super Cup style scoring system. Lee Keane with a 3rd and a 4th has 31 points. He'll be just ahead of Riley Dickinson on 27 and Parker Thompson on 26, rounding out the top 5 after the first 2 races of the season.
Sharing the spoils this weekend then, the Kelly Moss Road Race Young Chargers. And the young Dutchman, rightly very happy with his morning's work. It's a very well measured race, as Jeremy perfectly described. I just had the feeling that even if he had been challenged, he had a little more left in the package, the Michelin tyres and his car, than the others. So let's recap the results for you. At the top of the field in the pro category, Kai van Berlo by 4.5 seconds from his teammate at Kelly Moss Road and Race, Sebastian Priaulx. Then Riley Dickinson in 3rd for Team Hardpoint. Lee Keane holding on with an excellent rearguard action with a car that didn't look as good in the second half of the race. He was in 4th ahead of Parker Thompson for JDX. His teammate Sean McAllister climbing to 6th position. In Pro-Am, Alan Metney takes the victory, and Matt Holcomb brings home the big trophy in the 991 category. Great start for the first 2 rounds of the Porsche Carrera Cup North America for 2021. I'm giving it a big thumbs up, and we'll have the rest of the season for you live on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. But